I'm Mark Gagan and you're listening to the Voice of Insurance podcast, produced in association with Advantage Go, enabling enterprise-scale underwriting through a single pane of glass. This is a great episode with someone whose job encompasses education, engagement and innovation, and who has found real purpose and great satisfaction in her current role. Rosie Denée is best known for running the highly successful Lloyd's Lab Innovation Hub, but her full job title is in fact Head of Innovation, Commercial Education and Engagement at Lloyd's. In this podcast, we get to the heart of how to foment innovation in the global specialist insurance and reinsurance market, and learn about the characteristics of the top Insurtech companies that give them the best chance of success, and perhaps more importantly, what traits are most closely associated with failure. We also get a sneak peek at what the next wave of new Insurtech companies are likely to be offering the incumbent market in the coming years. Rosie is the sort of person who lights up when she starts talking about her job, and so I can guarantee that this will be an educational, innovative, and highly engaging listen. Enjoy the podcast. Rosie, welcome to the Voice of Insurance.
Mark, thank you. It's a real pleasure to be here.
For anyone who doesn't know you, why don't you give us a quick rundown of your career to date and how you ended up in this fantastic job you've got?
Yes. So I think with all good stories, it's probably worth starting at the beginning.
Well, you could start with a flashback.
With a flashback.
Or flash forward.
Flash forward. I definitely had a lot of question marks about what I should be doing and what I shouldn't be doing with my career when I was trying to work out which part of the world I was going to end up in. Back then, I had a real passion for marine biology. I can tell you now that I didn't follow that path. Did you do a degree in that? Or? Yeah, I loved diving. It was like everything for me. But I think for me, I had imposter syndrome from pretty early on, and I was looking around and realised it was incredibly competitive. Anyway, I ended up through pure chance doing some work experience in insurance. And my big takeaway from that work experience was all you need to do is hold a conversation and you'll be okay. And for me, that was just a real light bulb moment.
You could be really good on a podcast there, Rosie.
So through that, I essentially fell into insurance. It's not a novel idea to fall into insurance.
It was broking?
Broking. So I broked for 10 years, specialised in structured credit and political risk, which was a fantastic first job.
Well, I've never really understood the structured part of anything. When everyone talks about structured, my eyes glaze over. I was a broker as well, but no one ever showed me one of those.
I think structured in the fact that there is a structure to the kind of financial tool, as it were, or the financial offering. The kind of most exciting day I had was when I received an inquiry from a radio station, which was a pirate radio station based out in the sea just off Egypt. And they were obviously hoping for insurance coverage against the Egyptian government.
The Egyptian Navy just taking them offline.
Yeah, completely shutting them down. Didn't manage to secure any insurance. Surprise, surprise for that. But that was a kind of real standout moment. But I think after 10 years, I just actually really wanted to do something different. I was doing everything which wasn't my day job. I had set up an innovation committee at the broking house I was at. I was doing a lot of work around DE&I and work around cross-class business selling. So essentially anything which wasn't my day job. I was also training on the side to become a psychotherapist. And so joined Lloyd's with a view to continue that education. I started a master's in psychology and neuroscience. And I thought Lloyd's was a fantastic platform to go and try and do something different. The lab really appealed to me because of the innovation piece. And I actually fell in love with insurance whilst I was here, which I did not expect to be the outcome, but really was the outcome.
Were you at the lab right at the beginning?
So I joined the lab 2 years into its journey. So I've been in the lab coming up to 4.5 years now. I'm still doing my master's, but it's now a pet project and I absolutely adore what I do. I have found gold when it comes to insurance for me.
Say if you're in a bar or something and an intelligent and friendly person asks you a sensible question about what you do, what's your job? How do you describe the Lloyd's Lab to them? Are you a non-insurance person?
I think the answer changes every time I answer the question because it's so varied. I think my lead line is I help the insurance market create new insurance products. And I get to work with some incredibly smart people who are looking at the world differently to do it, who haven't come from insurance, and I help them navigate their route into the Lloyd's market.
There's a word like incubator and accelerator, and they're very sort of techie words that if you hadn't worked in tech, well, insurance people wouldn't know what they are and what the difference between them is. But is it an accelerator or something? Because these are companies that already exist. You don't start up companies.
No, we don't.
You don't help them start. They have to already exist before they come in and have a word with you and come on a cohort. it is right to say therefore it's an accelerator, isn't it? So it helps them really get on with what they're wanting to do.
Yeah, so we're definitely not a venture builder, which you were alluding to.
We haven't got any money. Obviously, you're not giving them money.
No, there's no money which exchanges hands. I think ultimately, if I was to describe the lab today, we are an innovation hub, which we have built out over the 6.5 years. We have an accelerator program, which is our flagship, but it's definitely not all we do. We're here to serve the market when it comes to innovation. We're here to create a fertile ground for innovation to happen in the market. And we're here to champion the wins of the market as well. The accelerator program is something which gets recognized across the globe for its success, and quite rightly so. And I think we are, safe to say, recognized as a powerhouse for innovation in insurance now. But the accelerator was where we all started with it, our humble beginnings.
So it's bigger than that now. I was very lucky to be invited along to your 5th birthday party, which was fantastic. It was in the atrium, by the Lucian Bell and everything, and John Neal was doing a speech, and it's fantastic. It was over 100 had come through, I think, by then. So what are we up to now?
130 alumni.
So how many cohorts is that?
So 12 cohorts. So we call our graduating companies our alumni. And we actually started cohort 13 this week. So we've got another new 10 companies coming through the program. And
how long is it? It's about 3 months, something like that, a bit longer?
So the program itself is 10 weeks. It's a really
weeks.
Short, intense 10 weeks for the companies who come onto the program. For the lab team, it's a bit longer. The amount of prep and work which goes on behind the scenes, not everyone gets to see it, but it's a slick machine now. And we have definitely articulated and evolved the process over time. But yeah, the program itself is just 10 weeks.
And it's all for the benefit of the Lloyd's market, isn't it? It's so that Lloyd's businesses can benefit from collaborating with these amazing, interesting, very original new ideas. Or they can help each other, I suppose. They can come with crazy ideas, well, maybe not crazy ideas, hopefully not too crazy, to advance that way.
100%. And I think our North Star as the Lloyd's Lab is to increase the pace of successful innovation into the Lloyd's market. So as long as we're meeting that, we are going on the right course. And so when it comes to the accelerator, these companies who are coming in, they are weird, wonderful and wacky sometimes, but as it should be. These are kind of new ideas. We want people thinking outside the box. We don't want people thinking in set squares. It's here to challenge what we know and understand as our world, as the insurance market or the Lloyd's market. So through that process, that 10-week process, there will be partnerships which develop out of it. We ask the companies, the Insurtechs, the tech companies, the startups who come through to focus on product development through that program. So that 10-week program, they are partnered with mentors, the mentors being the experts from the market. So our underwriters, our brokers, anyone who works within our market, and having many bright minds around a table. So you have the tech company who will be a deep expert in a specific area, maybe something related to a weather peril, maybe a new technology, but then you've got the insurance lens through the mentors, and the mentors are stretching these products in ways that they wouldn't actually be stretched otherwise. And through that, we are actually creating solutions which will really fit the market need. Hence, there is a high commercial deal rate once the program has finished or the cohorts have finished. But also, things have failed, and that's also a success. I think, thinking from recent memory, there are some companies which will never get into the Lloyd's market. That's all right, but what we have done in that process is actually move the market thinking. So not everything needs to be a success. And the wonderful thing is we're here to serve the market. So through economies of scale, the market don't need to do this. We have a safe space for them to come together, collaborate, test new ideas, get together and just challenge what they think should be done.
Are you ready to unlock the full potential of data, AI and automation in your business? Attend the Data Jam on November 28th in London, where insurance leaders and experts come together to explore how data can drive digital transformation.
From transforming your customer experience, streamlining operations, and staying ahead of the competition with cutting-edge technologies, you'll find the latest insights at the Data Jam. Dive deep into the power of AI, learn the latest in data management, and discover how emerging emerging technologies are reshaping the industry, all under one roof.
The Data Jam is not just about the tech. You'll get real-world insights and case studies in underwriting, claims, and operations. Plus, you'll discover how to leverage data to drive innovation in your organization.
Make data work for you. Search Data Jam today and join the insurance leaders transforming their business and operating models. Use the code VOICE for a 20% discount. That's Data Jam, November 28th in London. See you there.
You can't make an omelette without breaking eggs, or you can't go on a long journey without making a couple of wrong turns along the way. So this has been interesting for you because you're a scientist, also a psychologist. When you're going to have your annual appraisal, how do you define that success? Is it's led to a deal, it's led to one of the managing agents partnering or a consortium or something, or somebody buying this new product or service that they've got? Because obviously some will be to do with underwriting, some will be to do with claims, some will be to do with modeling, some will be to do with whatever, data analysis to help inform underwriters, or some things will be more sort of out of the box type of service that underwriters might sign up to. So for you, is it the fact there's end up being a commercial deal at the end of it?
So I think you've given a really great summary of the types of products and companies who come through the program. It is literally everything. So anywhere that there is a value to an insurance, so it could be process optimization, new forms of data, actual new products, MGAs or cover holders. So it's not a one size fits all. It's a very, very different proposition for different companies. So what we have to do as a lab is look at it through the lens of the market and the impact it is having on the market, because that's where our success...
What you ask the market, is this successful or not? Rather than, hey, we signed a deal, but no one actually uses it.
We do that, but we do things like we can track premium figures into the market through the MGAs, which have been created, or the cover holders, and they are trending up, which we would hope to see, especially if you look at an innovation life cycle when it comes to a new product, those first 2 years. So we're 6.5 years old now. But those first 2 years are really about trialing a product. Year 3 is scale or fail. Once you've got some data, you're really understanding where this is going. And then years 4 and 5, if you're deciding to scale, you are going to start seeing some actual premium numbers coming into the market. So we're now at 6.5 years old, beginning to see that premium number creeping up, and actually quite significantly.
Do they tend to be the ones that were year 1, year 2?
Yeah.
That are really maturing? Or
exactly.
You had the occasional one that's a bit of a moonshot and just scaled really fast.
It just won't happen, I think, because we've had brand new insurance products created through this lab program. We've had Parametrics, which is a cloud down business interruption insurance cover. We've had Gaia, which is fertility insurance. These didn't exist for the lab, and these are the sorts of products that we're seeing coming to market. No one's got any data on this. I mean, everyone in our market, all the actuaries and the underwriters, they're trained with that protected mindset on. They're not going to want to scale something at 100 miles an hour without actually seeing the numbers.
I recently had a fantastic podcast with Keita, but there was a moment where we realized, of course, it's not a mature business, because I asked about, have we had any claims yet? And the answer was no. So, that's not at the stage of mature business, is it?
No, exactly. So, coming back to your question around how we measure success, I think the real challenge is when it's those process optimization companies, man hours saved or claims avoided because of new data. How do you measure that when we don't even own that data? Those commercial relationships are happening with the market. But interestingly, Optalytics, who came through, I think maybe cohort 4 or 5, they partnered with Lloyd straight away, and they were able, through the catastrophe risk reporting piece, save 1,300 man hours within the first year of working with Lloyd. We could capture that data because they were within our ecosystem as Lloyds, they were working for the corporation. Those are the types of things that we can't actually calculate. But when you look at the cohorts and when they go through the program, the commercial contracts is a really good sign. So our last cohort 12, finished or graduated quite recently. Within the preceding couple of months, there were 20 commercial contracts already with the Lloyd's market out of 12 companies going through the cohort. That is huge. So our overall stat is 85% of the companies who've gone through the lab accelerator program have commercial relationships, but that speed is getting faster and faster.
Do you think it's because you're getting better at doing it?
We're getting better at doing it, but we're also shifting the culture. People are ready. They're coming ready and prepared to actually meet the companies coming through the program where they need to be met. So procurement teams have been involved at some of these managing agents. We've got dedicated teams within the managing agents looking at this. So that is a great number and stat for us. But other things that we can do to also prove our value, as Lloyd's, we're a not-for-profit. We're not here to look at the P&L. As an accelerator, we don't take equity, which is really rare. And nor will we take equity in the same way other accelerators do, because we're here to regulate the market as Lloyd's. But one thing we've started doing is making investments from our central fund. So this is something that we started last year, and we have a ring-fence pool of capacity from the central fund purely to make investments in companies that have gone through the lab program.
But those equity investments, or is that capacity?
Equity investments. So that, again, is trying to support the narrative that we are additive to the market and we're adding value. So any of the returns will go back into the central fund, and we are only making investments into those companies which are service providers or providing new forms of data. So no company that we would ever regulate would be able to get investment.
So there's absolutely no conflict.
Yeah, so no conflict of interest.
Yes, otherwise that really wouldn't work, would it?
No. And then we can kind of look outwardly at more factors. We were recognised by the Financial Times as being one of the leading innovation hubs across Europe, and that's a phenomenal win for us, having the Financial Times saying, these are guys are doing something pretty cool here and it's really working, I think, to us is thumbs up. Good.
Once you get in the Financial Times, you know you've arrived.
It was a happy morning.
We know some businesses are going to fail, and we've already said we know that some have to fail. It's sort of almost that they have to. Almost anyway, starting a business is really hard, and it's just cash flow. Just base. People always underestimate. They're going to need more money than they think, just because it's going to take 3 or 4 years for any income to come in half the time. Even if you've got the best products in the world, you need to be properly funded. When we had your 5th birthday, it was quite interesting. You'd said of that 100, it was quite a high number that was still going strong and that only a small number had failed. Where do you calibrate it? Because obviously there's a risk-reward sort of spectrum, isn't there? I suppose you could say, wow, we'll have 1,000 moonshots and only one will hit it, but that will be the one that will be 100,000 and it'll pay for all my other failures. And that's if you look at it in a venture capital type lens. Or you could say, I shall come much later stage when all the ones that were going to die have already died. And then or the ones that now have a much lower probability of failure at this point because they've kind of proven themselves. They've got through the difficult first couple of years, perhaps, and I have to worry about them running out of cash and that kind of stuff. Where do you sit? I feel that perhaps you're sitting slightly on the less risky end, but then the further you sit on the less risky end, the less excitement you're going to have.
To answer this question, we've got to be mindful that we're operating to serve a marketplace rather than a single entity, being it a VC fund or another.
You can't introduce someone to the market with this brilliant service and then they run out of cash.
Yeah.
A minute after someone's installed this thing and think, and now who's going to service this product? And I don't know how to update it, and there's no software updates and whatever.
Exactly. And I think the fact that we have within the market over 50 insurance companies, over 300 brokers, within that, there's a huge pool of appetite, a huge pool of different ideas, and a huge pool of talent. So you're never knocking on the same doors to try and get excitement for it. The market are heavily involved in our selection process. So our selection process is hugely rigorous, but it's also really open in the sense that we have a very global program. Anyone from around the world can go through the program. But the market is our primary stakeholder. We need to make sure that they see value in products that come through. So typically our biggest pool is around that pre-seed stage. So companies who have perhaps been going for less than 3 years, definitely less than 10 employees. They are very moldable at that stage. So through our mentorship or the mentorship that they get on the program, if they're doing it right, they're listening to the market and then they are actually feeding that back into their product design. If you leave the lab and you've done it well, you probably know what your roadmap looks like for the next 3 years because you've really listened to the market. You've validated your idea, your concept, your product, and you know what to actually concentrate on. Things are failed in the lab pretty quickly. If the market don't see value in it, they will push the real value add pieces. And they will advise on distribution, how to get around procurement teams, all of this insight that you just don't get when you're outside. It really opens doors left, right, and centre, and you are left with a huge network. Those water cooler moments happen if you come and position yourself in the lab. We're sitting in the lab today. We've got cohort 13.
And then literally just behind you can't see the door. And we're in those classic sort of goldfish bowl type meeting rooms. And yet I've already recognised and nodded to 3 people who've walked past.
Exactly. That just happens because we're in this collaborative space where we've got this ecosystem around us. So coming back to how we calibrate ourselves, I think it's the market which are doing it for us all through this process. They're selecting who comes onto the program. Once companies and insurtechs are on the program, they're telling them what success looks like and how to achieve it. And they're supporting them through that journey. And then once they graduate, we actually have a really supportive alumni program, which I don't think other accelerators have. Companies position themselves and base themselves from the lab itself. We have companies who work here full time with their entire staff. We have companies who are obviously from around the world. They will come here every time they are in London to work from here. We have meeting rooms where they can meet people. But we open up our global network. So we have, as Lloyd's, obviously this big global network. We're here to service global needs when it comes to risk. And in terms of growth ambitions, we will set them up in our local offices. We will put them in touch with regulators if they're having issues with the regulators. We'll put them in front of clients where we think that they will actually answer clients' needs. We really go above and beyond to make sure they are in the right rooms during the right conversations at the right time.
I remember interviewing Insurtech in this building, but they're a graduate of this Lloyd's lab, but this is still here. It's wonderful. It's almost like a big WeWork for Insurtech people.
And we're expanding our lab space because of that, because of the success. So we've already expanded it once this year, but we've outgrown our expansion. So we're having to re-expand our lab to actually home all of our companies who've gone through the program. They want to be here. It's a really, really bubbling, high energy community who are doing amazing things.
In your job, obviously you get one cohort in and then you're already on the next one. You're out there banging the drum and letting these companies know through the right channels how to apply. Because of that, you must have a fantastic sense of what is out there at the moment. And technology is quite interesting. Well, it's not all technology, it's just ideas, but they do go in fashions, or the tide goes in and out on different ideas and different things. That certainly some things are more easier to fund at certain times than at other times. So I just want to ask you, where's the wind blowing? And say, if it was 3 years ago, it would probably have all been blockchain or whatever. What are they putting on their sort of resume? Is it all AI today?
We are still very much in that AI bubble and riding that wave. You're right, it comes in trends and waves, and we definitely see different waves at different times. So I think looking at recent times, we've fallen off that pure ESG kind of trend, which was looking really broadly at ESG. We're now very much seeing resilience coming to the fore, be it cyber or weather and climate resilience. So a lot of new forms of data around how to actually articulate some of the changing weather systems that we're seeing around the world, the wildfire, that's a really hot topic. And in terms of technology, AI, I mean, yeah, you're right. Blockchain died a long time ago. No one talks about blockchain anymore. So
you just look at me like, yes, I'm from another planet now.
Exactly. But IoT, I think, is interesting. IoT is one of those things where it definitely had a huge kind of surge of interest and excitement. And it's silently still there under the radar. I guess people just don't talk about it anymore because it's so normal. IoT devices providing data consistently about...
This is, your fridge talking to
exactly,
the
like no one cares anymore. Everything's IoT. And, with IoT, we definitely saw a real rise in parametric products because you had a new way of actually validating a trigger as and when. But again, I guess that's just like old fry now.
It's business as usual. Yeah. That is the world. Everyone's used to it.
And I think with AI, the interesting thing is also we're seeing a lot of interest around how to insure AI and the models themselves. And
certainly, I saw someone pitch. I haven't been to the last cohort pitch, but the one before, I think someone was pitching on about almost ensuring the efficacy of the AI,
exactly,
of the algorithm.
Yeah.
And I thought that was way beyond. I don't know if that got anywhere in the end.
The thing is, it is way beyond, but it's actually a real issue. And I think it comes back to the heart of why the lab exists. The lab is the home for the innovative spirit of Lloyd's. Lloyd's has always had that spirit about looking at the world and meeting the changing world. The world's changing even quicker than it has across the 300-year plus history that Lloyd's has had. So it's right to have a home and a face for innovation to make sure that we are creating this really rich environment for innovation to happen. And AI is a great example. Like, the risk is here today. We can't touch it. It's not physical, but it's still a risk. And we still need to work out how to insure it because our entire world is fast becoming underpinned by this technology. And it's going to be a huge systemic issue at some point. We're not probably quite there yet, but we're very close. Like, we should be looking at this. And this comes back to also like moving the dial of people's understanding. These might not be the right products right now. We've had a number of AI model insurance policies or looking at the risk of come through the lab. But if we're moving the dial in the market in their understanding of this as an inherent risk, we are still doing our jobs.
Since you can't just close your eyes to it just because it's too soon.
Exactly.
It was too soon yesterday, but now it's too late. I think you're right to say that because of technology, the rate of change is accelerating all the time, isn't it?
It's scary sometimes.
Really interesting, but I'm really glad I asked you about that because, you really do get to look out into the future and say, what is out there right now and how's that changing compared to 4 years ago? And it's changed a lot. Back to that advice, I've forgotten what it was.
Well, cohort 13, unlucky some.
What do you think would be the learnings when you'd say, well, what was it that we've identified the things that are more likely to make you successful? I think we've already identified a couple of things. You've got to listen to what the market actually wants. Don't come with this product and say it's the greatest thing to slice bread. Why don't you want my sliced bread? No, we don't. We want it to be toasted and we want jam on top or whatever. So, but you've really got to listen to what the insurance market wants. But any other things that you think you've got to come with and also from the other side?
Well, I think it all really boils down to one thing at the end of the day. And I mentioned earlier that I'm studying part-time psychology and neuroscience, and they're hugely interesting areas for me. It comes down to people, and that is the fundamentals of everything. And I think we get such an insight here in the lab. We see all the innovation teams in the market. We see all of the companies who come through the lab. We're seeing a huge holistic view of innovation across a huge number of companies and different size entities. And it's different drivers at different size companies. But for the smaller Insurtechs or the early stage companies, you really need to get your founding team to actually complement each other, to have the right skill set on the table. If you can't sell your product, or you can't convince people that your product's worthy, you're never going to get anywhere. And I think it is one of the biggest things to failure is not having an effective team from the get-go. And I think that also then kind of feeds up to the investment point. And you mentioned this earlier, investment is huge for these companies. Insurance is really, really different to what we'd probably kind of term classic fintech. And sometimes Insurtech and fintech, especially in the investment world, are roped together, and fintech seen as the kind of more powerful cousin and Insurtech the lesser cousin. Ultimately, they run different cycles. They have very different drivers. If you get an investor on board who doesn't understand insurance and the insurance life cycle, you are going to kill a company really early. So you really need to have that understanding from investors. So for me, it always comes down to people.
Would you say a really good person with some fairly average tech is going to be more successful than some of the best tech in the world, but they just don't get on with people?
Definitely. Yesterday I was actually sitting in a broker office and I was sitting in their area waiting for my meeting to happen. And it's so funny. And because I came from the broking world, and it's really funny visiting it again from this point of view. The amount of interactions I saw in that 5 minutes where I was just waiting for my meeting to happen, where someone came up to a broker who they were meeting and it was like, "Hi mate, how are you?" And it was that relationship driven piece. And as we all know, our market is so dependent on relationships, as well as the amazing knowledge that our market has. And if you can't create these relationships, it can be really hard for you to actually then move your product forward. So coming back to your original question, you can have the best tech in the world, but if you don't have the ability to build these relationships, no one's going to necessarily buy in.
Yeah, because we've got to trust you and all that. It's good to hear. So that's the psychology part of it, rather than the marine biology part of it.
Yeah.
You mentioned before that Lloyd's lab is going global. How's that manifesting itself and how's it going?
It was the right time. I think under my leadership, I've always been really, really conscious not to build too big. We have to have really strong foundations to go on to the next level. And I think we still haven't untapped the huge amount of potential that the lab and innovation has at Lloyd's, but we are very much on that journey. So it was always going to be the right thing to do, but it just needed to wait for the right time to take us global. And through taking us global, which we've done over the last 2 years, we've tapped a whole new audience and really beginning to dig into local regional problem statements. So we started with Europe, we went to Asia Pacific, then Middle East and Africa and Americas in that. And we're going to go to Bermuda for reinsurance in cohort 14. But it's given us this huge opportunity to really understand some of these local challenge statements. We were ready. We've been going for enough years then. The accelerator program has a really strong identity. People were wanting us to move to these different regions as well. And there was a huge amount of demand for it. So we've done it through the medium of having different regional themes to our accelerator program and having really specific challenge statements and challenge problems for each region. and really pushing for local sign-ups. So, we really wanted to drive the fact that we are a program for everyone, and there should be no barriers to entry to actually applying.
When you're saying to those companies sitting in the Lloyd's lab in London, you've got to go and listen to that market. And then it's almost that you're challenging yourself as Lloyd's. Well, we don't know what all the problems are in the world. We need to go and ask the actual original customer around the world what their problems are.
100%. We should push ourselves out of our comfort zone. But I think with that kind of around the world and going global piece, we're moving into our next phase. We've got 2 memorandums of understanding signed, one with Bermuda, the regulator over there, the BMA, and the second in Dubai with the Department of Economy and Tourism. And they were purely driven by innovation and the lab. People want to understand what our secret sauce is and understand how we can then impact that to local economies.
So do you think you could see physical Lloyd's labs wherever there's a Lloyd's office?
It's not an impossibility, but we also need to work out...
We're the best club in the world. You can say, I'm just going to go to my Dubai branch and
can you imagine?
My Singapore branch and my Rio one.
Exclusive membership. No, not at all. We're not about that. We're about really opening doors. But for us, the challenge is really understanding the local dynamic and where we actually play best. So what we have in London, we shouldn't and won't recreate around the world because we have a marketplace here. The factors that drive our success here will not drive our success in other regions. So our big challenge is to work out where we actually can play with real benefit. And we're beginning to work out some of those answers. And when we've worked out those answers, that's when we will then build those outposts.
In Lloyd's, we've just had the innovation class and now the transition class. Sounds like an absolute validation of all the work you've been doing, that Lloyd's is giving permission for innovation. Actually, it's only when you name something that you start to see progress made on it. You start to measure something, you start to see it being changed. Exactly. And of course, probably manipulated as well, which is the other thing. So we've named innovation here in the Lloyd's Lab 6.5 years ago. And we've now, of course, lo and behold, we've seen innovation because we've given permission for it to happen. Now you're seeing innovation actually as 5% of stamp is allowed to be innovation, and another 5% for specific innovation around transition. So Lloyd's syndicates, managing agents are being given permission to go and do that. Presumably you must be over the moon.
Well, the initiative actually came out of the lab. So one of our big things as a lab is to understand the barriers to innovation. So be it within our marketplace, beyond our marketplace, and then work out how we can then create a hurdle over that barrier. So the ICX innovation came out of conversations that we were having around real tension within people's business plans. We have to have business plans submitted at Lloyd's, and you have to articulate where you're going to put allocated premium. And as we all know, with innovation products, there is no guarantee of a return. You are actually trying to experiment. And so there was tension happening inside managing agents about where they would put premium, and they weren't prioritizing innovation.
You don't want your bonus to be predicated on something blowing up.
Exactly.
So it could become a bit of a hot potato. So, no, I think property should have it.
Exactly.
No, cyber should have it.
Those were the conversations that were happening. And our market thinks in 12-month cycles, and innovation goes beyond 12-month cycles. You need to think in 5-year cycles, really, to make innovation happen. So that's where the Innovation ICX Code was born. But this really is a testament to Lloyd's' want to actually support our market when it comes to innovation and create the right environment. So it now sits quite rightly in Rachel Turk's world, and we now have increased the number from 2 to 5% because the market are really utilising it. We are having 100% year-on-year growth within the numbers which are coming into the ICX pool, and TCX is the right way to go. We really want the market to innovate. And ultimately, with these numbers, the market isn't going to blow up. And I think that is the number one message. It's a safe space to experiment, and it will remain a safe space to experiment. To your previous point about psychology, I think it's also putting it front of mind, right? If you talk about innovation enough and you talk about an innovation class, then people are going to be thinking about these opportunities. If you're not having the conversation, then people won't be thinking about the opportunities.
300% loss ratio sounds absolutely terrifying if it was based on the 60 billion premium of Lloyd's market. But if it's just on 100,000, it's more manageable, isn't it?
Exactly. We can all manage and we can all sleep at night.
No, exactly. And you think, yes, we'll definitely fix this. We'll probably be undercharged for this product now, but it's still a good product, and we'll probably need to calibrate this a bit better. What about looking back? It's unfair to ask people what are their favourite children. But any memorable ones you think, that was great. Well, obviously, they still are great. And you want to big up any of the cohorts that you've had, any particular ones that stand out for you?
It's a really difficult question, but I will answer it because, hey, why the hell not? For me, it always comes back to the people rather than the actual companies. And I think two really stand out for me. The first one being Gaia, which I've already mentioned. Gaia was a really personal story to a couple who went through fertility treatment, IVF. They unfortunately ended up not knowing what the journey was going to look like, spent quite a sizable portion of their life savings on trying to realize their dream of having a family. And through this experience, which was not a positive experience, actually came out and was like, we want to do something with this. So through that, they built the IVF insurance product. They came to the lab and they have a finance platform which goes with the insurance product. Their whole ethos is to really try and create this experience to be a better experience. So the product itself offers also mental health care in the event that you don't have a baby. It's really, really shaped around people. So today they've created over 100 babies. So they've had a really positive impact on 100 families. And that's really meaningful. And it's a really wonderful story. I think another story for me is a company called Clear Connect. The founder came through cohort 8. And again, with a drive to try and make a bit of the world a better place. And it was all around trucking business in the US. So there's fleets of trucks, which Lloyd's insures actively. Through the platform Clear Connect, it's basically a data ingest platform, which then advises you on how to underwrite your portfolio better, what you should be looking for, even down to the driver details. If a driver's got a bad history, it will flag it. But through this, they are opening up insurance capacity, which has never been opened up to Lloyd's before. They are teaching the drivers how to drive best and safe and having an actual movement on people's behaviors. And I think this is where insurance is really cool. You can actually impact and positively affect behaviors. So their aim is to try and get to a world where there are zero crashes on the road because of something which has gone on. Maybe the driver hasn't slept enough or whatever it is. And their whole ethos is around trying to put people's safety first. But through this are able to open up a huge piece of the pie for the insurance market. Over, I think, 75% of trucking business written through Lloyd's is now going through the platform. It's amazing. And that was because someone wanted to make the world a bit better.
And that's been a difficult class. It's lost money at different times and been quite a dislocated class. Yeah. This is actually a really good opportunity.
Yeah.
And who wants to be hit by a truck?
Exactly. We cannot have that as our end, no, but yeah.
But certainly with the guy, yes, I think it's really hard not to empathise with.
Yeah.
It's a human story, and then you're just attaching a bit of insurance to it. But it's just a compelling story, isn't it? You can't not relate to it.
Yeah, and it makes insurance relatable. And I think sometimes insurance seems really distant and unrelatable. And I think this is also where the lab is fantastic, because it's about bringing diversity of thought and understanding to the market, really reducing those barriers, but also getting the next generation excited about insurance. It can be quite a hard thing to do, but actually the stories that we can tell can actually really paint insurance in a different light, in a really positive way, and actually get people perhaps who wouldn't be naturally excited about insurance. What
about anyone listening who's thinking, I like this Lloyd's Lab thing, this Insurtech's really interesting, this could be really, really great opportunity. And now they can see there's a well-trodden pathway. They know that this is going to be good. And they really want to impress you with their submission. How should they go about it in a way that is going to get your attention and increase their chances of success and getting onto a pitch day?
Well, number one, it's not about impressing me. It's about impressing the market. So I think that should be the kind of guiding light for you. But it's really simple. We have a very simple scoring criteria. We're not making investments in these companies. We're not doing huge amounts of DD on their background in that sense. What we really care about is product, program, and team. So the team piece is really important. We want to see that they have got a sizable enough team to actually manage the lab. As I mentioned, some of these companies are less than 3 years old, so have smaller team bases, but that's all right. But you also need to be an expert in the field that you claim that you are an expert in. Equally, if you're a large company, we would expect to see C-suite support for a lab application. We don't want a company who has a huge amount of employees and someone at the very kind of mid-level to come in, because people should want to come onto the program and really use it to leverage their move into the Lloyd's market. So it needs to be taken seriously. Product is irrelevant for our market. It's a specialty market, specialty commercial business. We need to make sure that there ultimately is a home for you in our market if you go through our program. And program, you actually want to come and build better products alongside our market. It's super simple. Sometimes we get people who want to come in and sell is their mantra. And that's just not the program for you. We do have routes for that. So in terms of other programs, we've got programs centered around pure innovation insurance capacity deployment, Lloyd's product launchpad. We also have programs around training. So we're training our market in the innovation kind of mindset. So if you've got a specific skill set, we can help in that area. And as an outsider, we can put you in touch with the right people. But the Lab Accelerator is about just building products for our market.
Rosie, I've really enjoyed our chat. Is there anything you'd like to add, something we forgot to talk about?
Oh, gosh, that's always a good question. The biggest thing for me and the biggest learning I've had in the 4.5 years that I've been in the lab is that insurance can be really exciting. I love my job. I love the people I get to hang out with. And I love the fact that I'm sitting around people who are challenging the insurance market that we're in. And if you want to try something new, we're here. We are here for you, and we're here to support doing something new in insurance.
Rosie, before we started, you said you weren't feeling that well today. You were absolutely beaming.
I know. I think I might have I slept really badly last night and definitely got out on the left side, not the right side this morning.
But when you start talking about innovation insurance, you absolutely light up. So Thank you so much and keep doing it.
Brilliant. Well, Mark, thank you. It's been a real pleasure.
Well, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, don't forget to subscribe or leave a like or a review or recommendation on whatever podcast platform you used to access this programme. These really help get the word out. Before we go, just a quick reminder that advertising slots are available here and in other places in the Voice of Insurance podcasts. Podcasting is the fastest growing medium and attracts a high quality audience of key decision makers. It's also an intimate medium where you, the listener, are right in the room with me and the interview subjects. Needless to say, that means it's a great way of getting your message out directly to an audience because you know you've got their full attention. It's also very cost effective. So get in touch with Mark at thevoiceofinsurance.com to find out how you could be speaking directly to the industry. The Voice of Insurance podcast is produced in association with Advantage Go, enabling enterprise-scale underwriting through a single pane of glass. Voice of Insurance is produced by me, Mark Gagan. Music was written by Anna Gagan and produced by Carlos Gagan. Check out more podcasts and written comment pieces at www.thevoiceofinsurance.com.